and thanks for your continued support of our webinars. And today is the third episode of Education Insight series with the topic of Pause to Regroup, Maker Education Revolutions. And as you know, STEAM education is one of the hottest topics that nowadays educators are talking about all over the world, because STEAM education can help students improve their creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, and use of technologies. And Maker Classroom is a hands-on method for STEAM learning, giving students space to explore science, technologies, engineering, art, and mathematics. And the pathway to STEAM is exciting, but it can also be risky without an understanding of what STEAM truly means in both its intention and its implementation. And today we will discuss the Maker Education Revolutions, and our panel experts will share their knowledge and expertise in the first 20 minutes in 2 rounds of questions. So if you have any questions, please write down on the chat box. I will bring them to our panelists in the final 10 minutes in Q&A sections. So now I would like to introduce our moderator today. Please welcome Ms. Huang Xiaomin, and she is the co-founder of Pretty Mode Studio. And if you are a student of STEAM programs, I guess you may know her because she used to be one of our teachers in STEAM programs and also a STEAM expert. And without further ado, please welcome Ms. Xiaomin.
Hello. Hi, thank you, Tracy, for your introduction. So lovely. Yes, I was here in April for the STEAM project season 1, and apparently the season 2 is towards the end, and I hope everyone can participate. I'm Xiaomin from Petit Mot Studio. Today, I'm here to talk about the theme of the Maker Education Revolution, and I have 3 experts online with us during this webinar. Allow me to introduce our 3 experts. First is James Simpson, founder of STEAM Head. And second is Mr. Tatsuro Homa, a new user of Philip Kane and also a part-time teacher in high school. He's very good at teaching information science. And the third is Mr. Roy Lin, the co-founder of Tartsu Tech Innovation Company. Would you like to introduce yourself first, James?
Hi, yeah, sure. I'm James, a co-founder of SteamHead, and we're a nonprofit makerspace in Shenzhen, China, and also a program between Asia, the US, and Canada that brings a lot of design thinking into classrooms. We do a lot of hands-on work with teachers and bring community platforms to students to show off their work.
Great, thank you. For you, Mr. Tatsuro, would you like to share some experience about yourself?
Okay. Hi, everyone. So my name is Tatsuro. I'm a software engineer, and now I'm doing my job at the American publisher called as Wiley, and doing some edtech business lead and implementation and operation. And in Maker education side, I'm doing a part-time job in information science teacher in Japan. So I'm supporting students' growth on their capability on information technology, but also the digital competency like moral or expression themselves by digital tools and so on. And now I'm a newcomer at the Fab Lab Kanai because I graduated Fab Academy this year. So I'm very excited to share my experience on the Maker education and this chance. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Tatsuro. I'm sure that we will exchange a lot of ideas and experience. And let's welcome our Mr. Roy Lin. Roy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, my name is Roy. I'm the co-founder of TAKAS. TAKAS is the word or Estonian language. It means intelligent. The reason we choose this name as this was the name of our company is Estonia is the first country in the world where they push elementary school students from first grade to start learning coding. And we have in our company we have a tremendous passion for teaching people how to write coding. And therefore, for last 2 to 3 years, we have developed our own sort of toys plus coding learning courses to enable many middle school or elementary school to middle school to even high school students learn how to write coding from a very early age of their learning career. And we have and we are now moving toward more of a web-based online courses, teaching people specifically on coding, because we see coding is gonna be even more popular because it's a portable wealth where in the future, even working from home or travel anywhere in the world with this portable wealth skill, there's a lot of opportunity out there to a lot of to the next generation. So we want to we will be focused on web-based coding training academy as our mission statement for the company. Yeah.
Thank you, Roy. Definitely, the internet has bring today's life a lot more easier than before. But meanwhile, we also want students to, using them as a tool, not just games, right? So yeah. I'm sure everyone who participated in this webinar knows that there are 4 questions for us to discuss and share about. Number 1 is how to build comprehensive STEAM learning plans. The second is to set up a makerspace with your own recycled material and create a STEAM makerspace for your school. The third one is the STEAM and makerspace connection. The last one is bring the outside world in your classroom. And I think for the first and second one, Mr. Tatsuro, would you share some of your insights about these 2 questions, please? I cannot hear him.
Tatsuro.
Oh.
Hello, you're.
Oh, sorry. Now
okay.
I'm muted. So I prepared something for expressing my experience. So let me share my screen and I will explain my answers following that slides. Okay, so can you share my screen now? Okay, so this is my profile and educational background. So for my profile, I shared beforehand. And as an educational background, I'm a Bachelor of the Educational Anthropology and moved to my career to the information technology. So I joined IBM Japan actually and did some system development experience for 12 years. And now I'm at the edtech business doing adaptive learning technology. Adaptive learning is kind of a personalized learning service that allows students to do self-paced or human interacted online learning with some data scientific technology stuff. And I graduated Fab Academy because I'm doing a part-time teacher job for information technology, and I need to attain some background skill about the digital fabrication. So my school is Kogakuin University Junior and High School. And Kogakuin University is kind of a technology institute in Japan. So school philosophy itself has challenge, creation, and contribution. So it has a DNA of the making something and share that with society. And currently we have a library space as a making something. So that means not only absorbing some skill and knowledge, but also make output by doing some activities to do that. So the students can perform their skill and knowledge or creativity on that place. So in library space, we have a tiny 3D printer or digital tools to make something. So for example, we have some curriculum on making something, but also students has a autonomy to do problem solving at high school. So in this picture, there are some rattle in school library chair, and the left one is the actual one as a stopper. And if that lacks and the chair is broken, students can make the parts instead of the actual things. So this is very tiny problem solving, but that helps students experience on that. Also, they are doing some prototyping based on design thinking stuff. So sometimes they are printing as they like. So the right picture is the train. So that is their hobby. Or sometimes they can scan themselves and making something like dolls of themselves and so on. And sometimes we connect them to the external event like a Fab 3D contest. So that is organized by the Keio University, Japan. And some of students won the prize of their fabulous instruments. So the left one is a self-adjustable recorder by 3D printed service, and the right one is a kind of capturing geometry and make sounds like airplane. So this is their idea. Or they can make something like a game board on the desk. So for them, so it is a combination of their needs or their willingness to make something and doing that in school. So that is fun of them. That, however, in Japan, Japanese school under COVID-19 situation is not so good because we are not so prepared for that situation. And originally, teachers or students in school are not familiar with ICT teaching learning prior to the crisis. So the self-evaluation itself is not so high for us. And so government is now proceeding the enhancement of the IT infrastructure on that. But some of teachers in our school prepares all the custom-made effort to students. So for example, the school librarian teacher set up online archive for free content to share some of their knowledge or skills with students in online services. Or students organizes online modeling battle, and it is the artifacts. So in this game, so some of the external observer evaluates the effectiveness of their 3D printed materials. And the theme is what they can use at home when they are absent from school. So that was very fun and a very good experience for problem solving for themselves. And this kind of idea is based on some structure of the distributed learning system, like Fab Academy. So in Fab Academy, so we have something like so learn how to make almost everything, and it is a distributed educational model. So it is a combination of the remote educational system and also the local handy training by local Fab Lab. So in my case, I joined to the Fab Lab Kanai, and I made some instrument materials on that. So in my opinion, in this situation, we cannot have access to the lab space or school classroom, but we can do something by online using some remote educational system and so on. So in my case, so I made some of the musical instruments using the connecting machines by the MQTT protocols, and the make the instrument orchestra with other students who are joining the Fab Academy this year in Japan. So this is kind of idea to do something, even though we are not at home, but we can do great experience and to perform make something on that. So that is my idea about the how to make comprehensive the making education system by curriculum.
Thank you, Tatsuro, for your sharing. I think learn what you just said, learn great things, great experience when you're not at school, when you're far from school. Instead, you're learning with distance. How can you make it more fun? I think what hence a very important code here is motivation. I think I see many interesting videos from your students that they basically produced by themselves, and I think everything connects with them. And I find it fascinating to see high school students being able to create something so fun and with the eco material, especially. Great, thank you for sharing your experience.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So let's have James. Would you like to share with us about your teaching methods and your experience, please?
Yeah, sure. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about my educational philosophy, and then I'll show some examples of student work and some of the sources that we use to develop our teaching plans. We've found that for STEAM programs and for makerspaces, it's okay to start at a very introductory level. Simple start like an after-school club with robotics, fashion tech, entrepreneurial clubs, because traditional education structures are strong, and we should take advantage of those. It's perhaps slower, but less costly to the school. To go full board on a makerspace, a school would be well served by obtaining teachers trained in really progressive education techniques. And those are numerous and well documented. You can see them in Montessori learning programs, IB, International Baccalaureate programs, project-based learning, Waldorf. Obtaining that level of interdisciplinary progressive teaching in a whole school can be challenging, but I do think it's important to recognize that we're moving in that direction. Partly because in STEAM, engineering and technology are really the new elements. And engineering and technology nowadays are changing so fast that we can't expect all of the teachers to know everything that the students are learning. So you really need to remove the center of knowledge and authority from the teacher and place it into the project. So I think that's a big opportunity for STEAM and makerspaces to have a strong connection is the purpose of the spaces. I really liked the example of the teeny changes that students can make. Imbuing lessons with purpose, I think is really important. So so one of the things that we do with our larger projects is we bring them to the outside world. We'll do public exhibitions. The students will make books with documentation on their projects, photographs, stories, and they'll bring those books to the outside world. They'll bring their parents into school and talk with them about the purpose of their projects. I'm going to show you some fashion tech stuff right now. I'll share my screen. But I wanted to mention all of the progressive education values behind that, so that you know it's not just about making something cool to wear. It's about using technology with a purpose of revealing knowledge from within the student, or that they've learned online through videos, through sources, through friends, not necessarily from a teacher lecturing at the front of the classroom. This is Maria. She made a piece where butterflies launched from her dress when she released some Arduino sensors. Actually, a company called M5 collaborated with her. M5 Stack. They're like little expensive kind of Arduino boards for development, and they worked with her on making an electronic version of this butterfly that you see right here. So we put her on a runway, and I'm actually going to switch to YouTube right here. There we go. I'll just show a few seconds of this. This was in a museum. So the students had a real public audience to show off their pieces to. And we had a professional videographer come in, although later on, the students learned to make their own videos. There we go. And so bringing those projects to the outside world required connections with the museums, with companies in Shenzhen, City of Electronics, and we made sure that the students participated in making those connections. I think that is an often undersold part about creating a makerspace. It's not necessarily about 3D printers and laser cutters and coding. We do all of those things, but we put a big focus into bringing technology to students who don't self-identify as engineers. I think a good story, a good experience that I've had is a game jam. A game jam is where students come together to make a video game, and it's not all programmers. It's not all coders. That's an essential skill to making a video game. But there are artists, there are people with crazy fun ideas, there's testers, there's people that can write stories, and those people exist in a classroom. And so the makerspace needs to acknowledge the host of skills that is needed to bring in a good project. And we try to represent technology as a tool for students to use, not as an end unto itself. That being said, there are a lot of students who really want to learn a lot about 3D printing or programming, and we don't hold them back from focusing on that, but we do try to get them to be the searchers of that knowledge, and to not go to the teacher and expect maybe a step-by-step lesson plan for the whole class. When they search out that knowledge, it needs to contribute back to the projects that their classmates are working on, so that they're working with other people.
Thank you, James. I totally agree. I think, like you said, a makerspace is it plays a very important role of the host of skills that provides everything. Meanwhile, when the student has the motivation and has the purpose to create something, when they get together, the energy among them is tremendous. And for them, I mean, as a teacher, I see potential in them, and then by progressively learning their skills, they can have. It doesn't matter what they create, but I just see the hope in them, is because in future's world, what is most important for them is creativity and hands-on activities. So being able to create something from zero, or being able to make something, I think plays a very important role for today's student education. Thank you for sharing.
It does. Actually, if I could add one more thing.
Of course.
I guess about the students I showed just then were a little bit younger, and I want to reinforce that we use this same process with older students.
Yes.
And one of our sources is a lot of educational texts focusing on progressive philosophies about how to teach students, but also, oops, let me switch this screen, but also Stanford Design School has a lot of great materials on design thinking. And so it's been a big inspiration to us, pulling university level expertise into our K through 12 classrooms.
Okay.
And so one of my experiences with maybe high school students is that they might expect a more structured learning environment because they've been doing that for so long that they really want to know kind of how to pass the test.
Right.
And so Stanford design thinking processes have been a great source of inspiration and credibility for us so that we can convince the students that these are valuable skills that are recognized in industry and university. But I definitely recommend finding, even though the teacher doesn't need to be the source of all knowledge, I do think they're responsible for making the situations credible.
Thank you. I think we have some teachers and parents online. Having you sharing these insights is very important. I guess after the webinar, we're all gonna look for Harvard design thinking articles, or was that the book?
Oh, Stanford shares most of its materials on its website for free. Yeah, I'll share out some of the links, but if you just search Stanford D School, you'll get a host of materials and great PDF manuals.
Great.
Too complicated for middle school students, but just right for a middle school teacher to read so that they can share the source of all of this.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. And I would like to share also one experience I had 2 years ago. We had a project with a local studio. They teach kids about coding and our Arduino, etc. And we, as a Petimo studio, we teach fashion, kids about fashion, but we use a green design concept and upcycle, recycle, etc. So 2 years ago, we had this event. It's called Fashion Tech as well on Halloween. So we made this bag that can make a woozy sound, and a witch hat that shines in the dark, or the tutu skirt would change colors like while we're coding it, and with a special button that lights on off. So I think it's great because how can I put this? The costumes or the clothes speaks to teenagers. For them being able to create something and to design something that is we don't see it every day. It really puts them in a position of, oh, I want to give them motivation, so they would like to make more or learn deeper, or I think just great. Thank you, James, for sharing. I think the very last question I'm gonna have Roy to answer us about bringing the outside world in your classroom. Please, thank you.
Yes. Well, if our goal for our company is to make coding bring joy to the coding learning, and also to encourage kids starting as early as age as possible to start learning, and then and to bring fun and joy and contest. So I like to share the video with you guys. Then I'll do some explanation of what we mean by bringing joy to the learning. Also enable many students gain courage and preparation for the future generation. Let's share the video. Yeah. Hello? Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so as you can see, this is one of the activities we sponsored on one of the middle school in New Taipei City, and then so the students that would be they have been participating in writing codes through our platform. It's more like a drone, right? Where you can pre-program the routes. You know, so the contest was actually having students, you know, pre-program the routes so they the car will not fall off the track. Yeah, and then obviously, you know, all like 5 teams eventually one had won the contest because they had so much trial and error, and then so that's one way to make it exciting for students to learn, you know, through toys. Yeah, it's no longer more like, you know, it's no longer just a remote control. It's an educational toy where making learning coding is fun.
Yes.
It's fun, right from elementary school. It's fun, you know. So it's no longer boring, no longer difficult, no longer you know, my bargaining. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to make it very fun.
For a purpose. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, because coding, you know, coding is for the future, for self-driving car, for AI, for robots. But we want to make sure our next generation having a lot of fun. You know, while they're still small, you know, with like a piece of paper, but they can start absorbing the coding skill right from very early age. Yeah, that's our purpose. So we're gonna keep on coming up with a lot of toys where the essence of the toy is to teach them how to do coding, but through playing, you know, having a lot of fun. Yeah. So this is one of the successful product we have been launched across Taiwan right now. We haven't really sell anything overseas yet. We haven't really expanded to the international market, but this toy has already been has a very high rating in Taiwan. A lot of school actually, after we do the sponsoring, the parents get very excited because they you know, they can see their kids fire up with a remote control, not because of, you know, it's just a toy, but it's an educational material. Yeah, and so I think we're on the right track. We're on the right track.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I saw during the video was it a robotic car? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a robotic car. It's more like a remote control, you know, like a drone where you pre-program the routes. But but the essence of contest is it's not to fall off the track, you know, not to fall off the grid, right? Yeah, so it's not easy to do that. It requires a lot of trial and error. Yeah,
you gotta do the coding correctly in order to have the car to stop when it senses there's no road.
Yeah. When to make the turn, left or right, you know, corner. I mean, you know, how big the turn is. You know, whether it's 45 degree or 90 degree. I mean, you know, it depends. Yeah, and then maybe there's some angle you don't want to go too fast. You know. Yeah, but it requires a little coding. I mean, not highly sophisticated, but you know, some little coding. So we want to enable our kids to gain confidence. You know, one by trial and error. So for the winner team, right, they have to do a lot of trial and error on coding. So you know, while learning, while failing, right, they gain confidence because you know, our product enable them to really do a lot of trial and error. Yeah, and they can see the result right there, right in front of them. Yeah.
Well, as a parent, I would like to say that before, coding and 3D printing for me was very vague. And then I participated on the STEAM Project Season 1. Not only I was you know, very concentrated on my theme was the stay home for aesthetic education, and then I follow up all the different courses. Like you said, there were teachers talk about coding and how to do a robotic toy and how to code it in order to make the route correctly. And I guess not just for children, for us as a parent, we need to know what our children are learning because, well, you know, after all, the future's theirs, of course, but we are responsible for them to make sure that the education goes to the right pathway and there's more possibility in the future and so on and so on.
Definitely.
Thank you. So I guess we have shared all the 4 questions. Would you like to add anything, Tetsuro?
Yeah, so maybe adding to James' point. So as well as James, so in my case, I'm teaching to high school students, and sometimes it's difficult for me to teach them because of their diversity. So students' motivation is diverse, and also students' original skill or capability are diverse. So one of the effort from me is adding some framework like a design thinking or problem solving structure, and following to that kind of the stuff like the step by step of the worksheet or other some process of design thinking. So that helps them to go forward on that. And also, like Roy said, maybe the fun of making something should be easier than we adult expected. So make something fun for them is very important, and that is one of the very important part or important role of teachers, I think.
Definitely, totally agree. Because children pays more attention when the course is fun. Nonetheless, either it's engineering or math, and our role here is to decode everything and make it into a fun curriculum for them to be able to learn and achieve what we expected. And on top of that, maybe they can achieve more than we expected. How will you know, right? So James, would you like to share some of your insights about Makerspace, please?
Yeah, sure. I think fun projects and philosophies are a basis of what you need for a makerspace, but you will come down to realities of needing to purchase materials and tools. I think actually, I could probably share my screen here. Yeah, I think a great resource is an early study published by Makerspace, Make Magazine, called the Makerspace Playbook. Is that visible right now?
Yes.
And so that's easy to find. Just search it online, Maker Ed Makerspace Playbook. And they have, there's a lot of versions of these. This is one of my favorite. They have all of the philosophy kind of written out pretty simply. It makes it appear simpler than it is. But they also have great lists of materials. So here's just a big list of tools that you could use. And I think teachers can look at this and decide what needs to go in there, what's safe for their kids. They also have a big list of adhesives, tape, wood, fluids, stuff to cut things apart. When you put recycled materials in here, it's great. But my advice is that if you get any amount of recycled material, try to get like 30, 40, 50 pieces of that. Unless your students are already very experienced makers, you'll need to provide some instruction on how to use each material, how to cut it, if it could be melted, how to glue it. And if everybody's using different materials that they've brought from home, it's going to be a lot of stress on the instructor. Whereas if you have 50 bottle caps, that's actually a great restriction. You say, oh, how can we make a sign out of just bottle caps? And everybody will have really great ideas. So sometimes you might need to fake your recycled materials in the beginning, such that you might purchase bottle caps to give kids
drink a lot of beverages.
Yeah. And if you're in a place with factories or makers of goods, a lot of those factories are super proud to share their materials with schools. And they'll have, they'll cut round pieces of foam out that have to be pulled out of their packaging. So it's an excellent source of consistent recycled materials for your students to build projects with.
Definitely. So as you mentioned earlier, having a makerspace is not just instructions job, is also we can link to like social companies, have them to contribute whatever they can, and also it's not just about the makerspace, it's about community. If everyone brings a little bit, for example, the cap, and every family brings 2, you got 200 or maybe more, and makes the whole class, being visible. And meanwhile, you get, people to know about makerspace, and the teacher would I don't know how to put this, but the connection between human nowadays is losing. So I guess having a makerspace in your community is also one of the way to increase the relationship between one and the other, and I think it's a great idea. And here in Taiwan, there's one makerspace that is quite big. It's in Kaohsiung. It's called M-Zone. I haven't visited there, but my team did. They said it's wonderful places, but what we encounter challenges that no one goes. They have the best equipment and the staffs and trained staffs, but just nobody want to go. So I guess the following question we need to ask about, I mean, at least for us in Taiwan, is that you have this wonderful space close to the bay, beautiful view, and all this very advanced equipment. How can we bring people in? Because that's the purpose, to share the fun of making things, to be able to educate the next generation with more possibilities about innovations, creativity, etc., etc. Well, so thank you, James, for sharing. I think there's a lot to talk about, but I'm afraid our time is up. But would any of you like to say something before you end?
I'll have some questions for the other panelists, but but if the audience has questions first, then why don't we let them go?
Let me check. No, you go ahead. Go ahead, James.
Roy, I really enjoyed seeing the cars, and I wonder how much resources would a school need before, if they got the cars and they have the students, how much time do teachers need to spend kind of learning how to do everything before the students can get involved?
Are you talking about how much in terms of dollar or in terms of time?
Like time, yeah. How much time do the teachers need to spend?
Just 4 hours. 4 hours.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, not much, because like I said, we make everything easy to understand, easy to learn. Yeah, and also best part, fun.
Yeah, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what they need to learn. Like, is it coding or mechatronics or?
No, actually now it can be a computer dummy, to even start with, because this is designed for kids, who knows nothing about coding. And sometimes, it's better to start from scratch, from blank sheet of paper. Yeah. So our product is actually make it very, very, dummy proven. So
right.
Like in the US, there's a lot of books, right? Math for dummy, English
Yes.
for dummy, it's just like that. We're more like coding for dummy, but through real toys. You learn coding through our toys. Yeah.
Through play, right? I wholeheartedly agree. When we're designing lesson plans for classes, at first we were designing them for students to learn easily, but then we figured out students have a lot of time to spend figuring this stuff out. So actually, we designed them for teachers to learn easily, because teachers have no time; they're so busy. So if books can be opened right away and just starting from zero, it's always great for the school. a lot of students have already done block programming or done RC cars at home with their parents. But it's great to start everything out at a base level so that the whole class can join in.
Yeah, you thank you for pointing that out. We are just like those popular books in the US, something for dummies. Yeah, like anyone without any coding knowledge can get into it. And like I said, the point is to having them learn and gain little confidence, through playing. And so it's not no pressure, no pressure, having fun and no pressure learning. Yeah, and then eventually you know a lot, and that's the key. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I have chance for one more question,
yes.
I wanted to ask Tatsuro about so either for your schools or schools that you see in Japan, do they have makerspace time during the school day? I saw your equipment was in the library. Can they use that during school hours, or is it a purely after school thing? And if different schools are different, maybe you can tell us about that type of environment currently in Japanese public schools.
Yeah, so honestly, that depends. So in our case, we can use it during the school hours. And I'm a teacher of the information technology, so yeah, that's reasonable for me to use that. And we have a design thinking class in junior high school curriculum. So that teacher can use that space for their purpose. However, actually, many of school does not have that kind of the maker space itself in their school. And also, if they have ones, maybe they only use it after school or something. And now Japanese educational curriculum is reorganized, and our government are focusing on the importance of the creativity or autonomy and problem solving and so on. So maybe we can show example of the track records of utilizing that space and making education system to government, and they can propagate it to the society. Yeah, so that's the stage.
That's great to hear. I think a lot of governments around the world want to focus on STEAM education and arts, but it's being achieved in a lot of different ways. I spent a lot of time in international schools in China and working indirectly with public schools. The public schools received a mandate from the government to do maker education, but the definition of that was pretty broad. So we saw some programs during schools, but mostly programs after schools.
Yeah, maybe it's a cross-discipline curriculum should be needed, like not only language, not only math, but the combination of that subjects. And for example, some cooking and math, or cooking and chemistry, or making something, and so on. So yeah, hopefully we can do that kind of stuff as a maker's education.
Yeah, I love to see interdisciplinary programs. I think it's really hard on the teachers to move away from traditional education, lecturing in front of a class about a single subject, into an interdisciplinary program where multiple teachers are collaborating on a lesson plan, yet an individual teacher is still responsible for the test scores of their students on that one subject. And so a lot of that requires government and administrative support. So a lot of stuff that we talk about for Makerspaces is about students and teachers, but we also need that top down, which is why I appreciate, I guess Smart City and these online conferences kind of spreading the word out and up to our administrators. So thank you.
Yeah.
So I have one question from, listen carefully. I don't know who would like to answer this question. So I have Maurice Sophie. Her question is, hi, I'm from Indonesia. Actually, the makerspace is kind of new thing in Indonesia. What is your suggestion for the best approach to implement the makerspace for the 21st century education in a new country, despite of this uncertain situation? I think three of you has the best place to answer that. Why don't we start with Roy? What do you think? Because the makerspace.
I can go later. Yeah.
What's that?
Fully prepared for this one. I said, James, would you like to go first, please?
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm not fully prepared for this one. Sorry.
I think I was talking about credibility and Stanford D School. I think that that is a great place for countries that are still heavily rooted in traditional education and trying to move forward. They can look at educational institutions that are well respected at a university level and still pushing these initiatives forward. A difficult place for them to look, where they might start, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend, would be studies of K through 12 schools and the assessment and success metrics around those schools. I think that no studies have been funded for long enough, or technology is changing too fast for meaningful data to be pulled out of there. But parents, teachers, educators, kind of everybody knows what they want to see in classrooms. And so if you can go to new institutions, to established institutions like Harvard, Stanford, MIT, and see what they're doing and what they're saying about design thinking and entrepreneurship, that will give a lot of credibility to the teachers. Right. One more quick point, I'll try to make it brief, is I have something called dancing robots. A dancing robot is something that looks impressive, but has little educational value. Those are not always bad. It's not always bad to have a 3D printer in your school that students don't get an opportunity to learn how to use. Just showing off the technology, showing off something that was easy for the students to do, but looks technically impressive. It can be used as a marketing tool to get excitement and interest in the program. It should be acknowledged that that's not actual academic classes.
Got it.
But after that, it's still okay to just have a good time.
Yes.
And that will give teachers a lot more freedom to bring what they know should be into classes.
Thank you for sharing, James. For that point, Tatsuro, would you like to give us some of your insight about how can start from scratch? How to having a makerspace? From your experience, what do they need?
So that's a very difficult question, but maybe it matters the human. So like teachers who can do exploratory business on their responsibility.
And I also think the government plays a very important role here. Yeah. If like you said earlier, from top down, if the government says, let's have a green light for the makerspace, and then I believe that all the materials and the equipment will be on site.
Yeah, of course, governments should support that. Yeah. And maybe even though the framework or other technical environments are very good, but it's no way if the students cannot be motivated.
Definitely.
So in Japan now, we have some curriculum like called as a tankyu gakushu. It maybe in English inquiry-based learning. So that combination inquiry-based learning. So students will do exploratory learning activity and do problem solving and so on based on their motivation.
Got it.
Yeah, so sometimes that covers SDGs, or sometimes that covers the problem solving for their environments. So maybe I think the subject is just students or learners, and teachers and the government should support that with money or with curriculum
or knowledge or
yes.
Great. I'd like to thank 3 experts here with us during the webinar, and thank you everyone for joining us. And it's our honor to have this panel of experts today and you in front of the camera with us. So please stay track of every new webinar in Smart City. I believe there's more coming, and I hope you enjoy our conversation today. And thank you, James, thank you, Roy, and thank you, Tatsuro, sorry. And I'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Tatsuro.
Yeah, thank you, Roy,
Bye.
James. Bye.